Good morning, and welcome to Thursday morning, a reading from my book, Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. I'm just so glad you're here. I didn't do it last week because I was in a hotel room, and I told you that the lighting, I always have trouble getting lighting when I'm in a hotel, but I'm glad to see you here today. Always glad to see you. I really don't have a rant today. I just know that we have a lot of work to do in terms of getting ready for the election. But I do want to say this, that when you're talking to friends and family, that you should always, always, always stress that uh, it should vote locally. The down ballot is very, very, very important. And it doesn't matter who you get into office, the presidential level, if you don't get the right people in on the local levels. The way we keep people in places where we need them is by our local elections. So, whatever party you're in, you have to do that. You have to vote down the ballot, the whole thing. And you stay with people, you research people, their work and all of that so you can see what they're doing. We have a lot to lose, everybody knows that we have a lot to lose. And I know people are not feeling a lot of things that President Biden is doing because he's not done everything the way we would want him to do, but he has done a lot of things that have helped a lot of people. And I think that, we need to pay attention to that. Not voting is like voting for the opposition, staying at home, voting for the opposition, casting a third party candidate is like voting for the opposition, and you really need to know that. At the end of the day, if you don't want somebody in office who's going to take away your rights, who's going to continue to just shave away your rights, you need to vote for the person who has so far been able to keep your rights. Now, I know there are issues with the Gaza policy. I hate that. I hate what's going on. I hate the genocide, and I hate that politicians are controlled by money and people who have the money who help them out. I know that. I know that. And it makes me very, very angry. But at the end of the day, even with that being the case, you have to understand that there is a day after the election. You know what it's like? It's the day after you have sex with somebody. There is the day after. And you got to realize that. And you have to ask yourself, what am I going to want to think? What do I want to feel on the day after the election in November? And so you have to think about that. And do you want to hold on to your rights, like freedom of religion and speech and press and assembly and all of that? Because the other side is trying to take, not trying, it's saying they're going to take them away. Do you want to hold on to Medicare if you need it? If you're old like me, you need to hold on to your Medicare. Do you need to have health insurance, period? They want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act so that people who now have access won't have it. So, and they will make it almost impossible for you if you have a pre-existing condition. If healthcare is taken away to get healthcare, they don't like public schools so much. They don't really like that. They want everything to be privately controlled, and they really want to get rid of the income tax, which on one level sounds really good. But then, how does the country get money for things like infrastructure and paying for the military, if that's your thing? All of that stuff. How do you get the money to do that? Who's going to foot the bill? I don't think it's going to be the very wealthy people, but I do think the very wealthy people will form organizations and companies to get money from us, to pay for those things. It won't be nearly enough. And I just kind of wonder what happens to the country. I'm very uncomfortable with this whole thing, other than trying to take away our rights and doing away with all of the institutions. I don't like taxes, but I don't also want to be driving across a bridge and maybe have a collapse because there's been no money to fix it. That kind of thing. Or I don't want the prison industrial complex to continue to grow and be one of the largest industries in this country. I don't want to see us in a country where people who are not white and who are not the right whatever be put into concentration camps in this country. It was done to the Japanese during and after World War II. And now they're talking about putting immigrants in there, all Latinos in there. I mean, it's like crazy. I don't want a country like that. So I'm willing to, to cast my vote for somebody that's not perfect, because nobody is, but who I think will hold on to the things that we hold dear at this point. So that's what I'm saying. So you have to vote down the ballot. You have to vote because the judges in your cities and your states matter. Supreme Court, local, all of that. The district attorney, the state attorney general, and the Secretary of State. You don't want somebody as Secretary of State who is an election denier. You don't want that. You want somebody who knows that it is a job and it is apolitical. It is a job where they're supposed to serve all of the people. So I need for everybody to think about that. Please think about that as you get ready to do the work to help people get registered and ready for the November election. So I said I wasn't going to rant. Okay, so I lied. There's a little teeny rant, but I just wanted to say that today because it's so important. And I need for you who are listening to share the information, to talk to your friends and family, and don't get into arguments about it, but just have conversations about it. Sometimes you can give people information by just putting an article down if they're prone to reading, or having them look at a video or something so that they can understand what is at stake. Because as I say, every time I do one of these things, I don't think people know what is at stake, and I think that's very critical. We can learn to pray. You have to pray with your feet and pray with your mouth when you're going through stuff, and we will go through some stuff. We're going to go through some stuff in this election cycle that's going to turn your stomach, but we still have to do the work and protect our lives and all the gains that we've made over the past 50 years. The women and the black people and brown people, so many things, and they want to undo all of that. They want to go back to this mythical place I call Ozzie and Harriet land, or the Donna Reed land, that kind of stuff. And I just don't think we want that. I think we have all worked too hard not to do that, not to get there. So that's the end of my rant today. That's the end. I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I did anyway. So today, and I want to thank you all, those of you who have purchased my book, Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. And last week when I was in Atlanta, I actually gave away several of them because I wanted people to read them and know what they were, and then maybe inspire other people to purchase them. But if you have the book and you like it, I ask that you get other people to look at it and maybe purchase it. So I write a meditation every single week. Sometimes I read directly from that book. It only has 90 meditations in it, and I've written Tuesday meditations every Tuesday since 2012, 2013. But so sometimes I read directly from the book, and sometimes I read the meditation that I've done for the current week. So this one today, The Power of Getting and Staying Still, is the one I wrote this week. And if you want to be on the mailing list for these meditations, you just email me at crazyfaith2019@gmail.com. crazyfaith2019@gmail.com, and I will put you on the list. Send me your email information, and I will put you on the list, and you will be able to receive one of these every single week as well. But anyway, this week, The Power of Getting and Staying Still, and it says, what does it mean, and how does it feel to be still? Psalm 46:10 tells us to be still and know that I am God, and I absolutely love that psalm, and I love that verse. But though the words are simple to understand, the fact is that for many it is difficult to be still, meaning one does not move, one puts down one's devices, one stops thinking about all they have to do. I can remember when I used to, when I had my church and we would go for an altar call. Before I had my church, and an altar call would be called, and I would go up to the altar with every intention to just pray for, to be still and listen to the person doing the praying. But as soon as I knelt down at that altar step, I would start thinking about everything else. Oh my gosh, the food I had to do, what was going on with the kids. It was weird. It was so weird. And it only happened when I went to pray, which tells me that there is some spiritual opposition for us to connect with God in the way that we connect when we are being still. And so I've come up to the understanding that being still is a fast, and it's a fast from busyness, both in our minds and in our bodies, in our lives. Being still, I think, is how we let go and let God. It's difficult to do. Long before there were electronic devices for us to focus on, our minds raced with all kinds of thoughts that were eating away at our spiritual stability. We thought about work and family, of course, but we also thought about things that we could not change, people we could not forgive because of what they had done to us or said to us, and regrets over mistakes that we'd made. As our minds were busy, so were our spirits that worked hard to turn our minds toward God and off the things that kept us distant, distracted, and separated from God. But often, then and now, our spirits suffered fatigue as does a heart that continually beats too fast for too long, resulting in a hampered capacity to send the Spirit of God through us and to us, just as our hearts send blood to us and through us. And when the blood can't move like that, what happens is it clots and we have physical strokes. And I think we suffer spiritual strokes as well. Could not being still be considered a sin? Under the definition by Tillich, it said that sin was anything that separates us from God. And could we be refusing to take or make room for the necessary medicine for keeping our spiritual selves healthy, which is God's Spirit? Just as those with hypertension must take medicine to control it, and those prone to getting clots must take blood thinners to keep more clots from forming and too often breaking off and lodging in our lungs or brain with catastrophic results. We need to understand that God's Spirit needs to be able to flow and not get clotted up inside of our spirits. The benefit of being still cannot be overstated. Once we set up a daily schedule to spend time with God, realizing that it might take a while for our spirits to allow God's indwelling spirit in us to take effect, we realize how much worse, conflicted, worried, angry, lonely, and confused we had been. Taking the time to be still and doing it long enough to be able to see the impact makes us spiritually healthy when we don't even realize how spiritually ill we have been. God really does speak to us at break of day. I love that, which comes actually at any time of day after we have taken time to be still with God. We agree in beginning the work to be still that we will never leave our still time out of our day, not ever again. We agree to do the work to be spiritually whole and healthy. We agree to find out what let go and let God really means and to trust that whatever that means for our lives, we will let go of our busyness and not only reach for God's hand, but hold on to God's hand every single day going forward. At a recent Bible class I was teaching the meaning of meek that's found in the Beatitudes. And it reads, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Which, the word meek turns people off because we have this idea that meek means to be mealy mouthed and be willing to let people walk all over you. But what it actually means is to be able to stand your ground between having excessive emotions and non-emotional emotions, or I'm saying being excessively emotional or being non-emotional. There's somewhere right in the middle. Being meek, according to these words, the words are used in the Greek and Hebrew, means having the strength to hold your ground and not give in to either emotion on any side. On any side, with one side being the extreme emotional response, and the other hardly any emotional response at all. When we are still and allow the Spirit within us in new ways, we have a new strength that to the outside observer seems like that it is us doing something and doing the controlling. But in reality, it is God in us and with us. Emmanuel, God with us, God with us, God in us, God over us. That is that. We can afford to give God some alone time every day. In fact, not doing that damages and scars our relationship with God. God is necessary. God in us is necessary to hold us up and keep us when the storms of life swoop into our lives, causing emotional havoc that too often leads to physical actions and conditions that either hurt us, hurt others, or hurt us all. In this political season, where our spirits will be tossed around by the winds of toxic politics, we do well to practice being still. So we will be ready for the winds of the storm, which will work to knock us over and keep us down. God calls us to be still and know that I am God. And I think we should listen. Amen and amen. So that is our Tuesday meditation for today. Again, I'm so glad that you come. You can look at this on our YouTube page, Crazy Faith Ministries. You can look at there and you can go there and subscribe to our page. That would be neat. But continue to come on Thursday mornings and tell other people, if you are enjoying these, to do it as well. We're trying to reach people and give people, something to chew on. One of the things I kind of gets disturbed about with church. With me, you can go to a rousing church service. The music is good, the preaching is good, and all of that kind of stuff. But when you go out of the church doors, and sometimes you don't even remember what was said. But it's a sure thing. If you don't remember what is said, you can't do what was taught. You can't do it. And so I look at these meditations as a time before service, before the Sunday service, coming and after the Sunday service that we just gone through, gives us a time to think about some things in a different way, and at least for a couple of seconds, think about it. So my hope is that you will think about how it is that you can be still, always need to be still, so that we can hear God's voice and get some clear directions, and let go of the emotions that we have on either side of the spectrum, too much emotion, too little emotion, but just right in the center, so that we will have the strength to do the things that we have to do in the name of the God who loves us all. So take care. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you next week. Tell somebody about us. Take care.